Let's go. Right, guys, welcome. Thursday. We had a very obviously very interesting day yesterday. I was kept explaining to everyone how we won't have a worse day than what we had yesterday, but obviously the beauty of it is we managed everything out in profit, majority of us, which is good. Before I get started, not sure obviously who subscribes to people on YouTube. I'm putting a lot of work in to my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna carry on. I got some really cool stuff planned. There's obviously loads of videos here. I record everything. And I'm going to be doing like challenges and stuff like that. So yeah, it'd be great to obviously get these subscribers up. So yeah, if you would be so kind, that'd be incredible. Right, let's go through everything. What's happening? Why? Yesterday actually played out exactly as expected, but we just had um, I was angling on 97,500 being tapped before 98, right? We called yesterday. We're stuck in this range here, yeah? Right, we're stuck in this range. There's not enough to take us past 98, and there's not enough to take us below 97,500. All right. I was expecting this rebound this morning. However, everything is starting to trend and starting to hold to the downside. So what I am hoping is that obviously yes, dollar comes up and obviously triggers our trades, but then obviously we have this meltdown here. Now we're in a very interesting situation on the dollar Higgs. We've tried 98 one, two, three times. Right, and it can't break. I don't think there's enough momentum to push this, through. All right, but then we've also tried 97,500. One, we broke through a bit, and twice here. I always recommend having these 500s marked up because you can see as yesterday it rejected 98 to an absolute T. All right, to an absolute T. So those are obviously things to watch out. I am anticipating this coming up. However, am I anticipating it's bread breaking? Not really. So that's yeah, that's my kind of overview. The other thing at the moment, yields down 0.25%. Yields haven't recovered at all, which means to me there is not that influx into the US dollar. We're also starting to get stocks dropped or stocks, starting to not really push out of anywhere. If you can see here, we're just kind of consolidating here at the top. We're not breaking out. We're not kind of making new highs since 12th of Jan. We're just kind of in a range here. We've got US 30 starting to drop to the downside. And then we've got US 100. Yes, it's obviously made this nicer spike up yesterday, but obviously overall, it's not really pushing that hard. So that's my kind of overview. Let's go on to what we've got happening today. So we've got Lagarde speaking, jobless claims. So I think these are going to be priced in. If I'm honest, I think that there is we had some good jobs data. I think good jobs data is pricing. We're expected to be better than what we were. So we've got obviously initial jobless claims, which is going to be important, and continuing jobless claims too. So all of these things are, you know, I'm anticipating these to be priced in. All right, jobless claims set to obviously reduce, continuing, but initial, sorry, increasing. So I think if these miss or come in below expected, which they can do, then obviously that's going to help us to break 997,500. However, I don't think there's going to be enough of a surprise for it to surpass 98. So that is my anticipation of today. So going through obviously what we were looking at here, we got gold here, which has triggered. It's come back to entry. So expecting this to obviously go a little bit higher. We got Euro E here. I've allowed a bit more space here. I haven't been quite as aggressive as I was yesterday. So, I would like these to come in and tap these areas. Euro struggled to break through this. And actually, Euro, if we'd have stayed in, this is pretty much similar to where we were yesterday. It's just we obviously weren't as high up. So holding that would have been profitable from yesterday. GBP USD looking like we're going to trigger. You can see trend here starting to change. Yeah, the 2 hour trend. You can see it's starting to change. All right. So remember, what goes up must come down before we go back up again. All right. So these are obviously all things that we've got to be aware of. So yeah, like I'd said, stops here anywhere trading above here, we're obviously happy. That is obviously what we have to anticipate because that is current trend. So Aussie, very, 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 very similar. Look at current trend, making a new high. All right, so we want this to come back down here again. Stops down here because obviously this is the lower, sorry, higher low that obviously we want to stay above for trend to continue to the upside. Yeah. So all these things we've got to be aware of. And then our dreaded USDJPY. We've had some weird trades on USDJPY. We've had two, I think, in the last month, we've had two which have hit TP within 20 minutes. And then we've had a whole range of it just being horrible. So, what I would recommend on USDJPY is halving lots. All right, just halve it, just halve lots. All right, to what you would normally, because it's not been kind. It hasn't been kind at all. Even though yesterday, I know that there was a couple of you who obviously didn't honor, stop losses, and it come down to about break even. I think it was 558 800 was obviously our entry yesterday. We obviously spent a little bit of time in a tiny bit of profit before it just busted us out. Yen pairs tend to move quite quickly. We have to anticipate it. They tend to do, this for a while, stay close, and then you have an impulsive, move. You can see one here. We caught this one on Tuesday. You can see this one here. You normally have an impulsive move across all yen pairs. They do move slightly quicker than the US crosses, but obviously that is the way it is. I actually like this trade. I like yen to the downside. It's just been underperforming. If you look at everything else, um, everything is overextended. I don't think yen should be at these highs. So yeah, let's let's wait and see what happens here. Right, let's have a look here. Greg, I thought you were staying away from yen. Yep, I just obviously explained. Just obviously enter half loss. I'm not going to let it scare me. I just think, yeah, it was just one of those things. This move here caught us out yesterday, but obviously, sorry, it was this move here yesterday. But obviously, if you look at it, we obviously, yeah, stops were a bit higher. If, where, but there we go. I'm not gonna let it scare me. The entry zones are smaller. Yeah, I've definitely 100% been a bit more cautious. And obviously that's how I've wanted to trade. But gold going nicely. So anyone who's in this one, well done. We've obviously got euro approaching, pound looking like it's going to approach. I like pound. So let's wait and see. And Aussie approaching. Looks like it should be another active day. But yes, a bit like yesterday, I really like USD JPY to the downside here. You can see on a 2 hour, you know, um, we've obviously had a bit of a, mix here. But one thing I liked is how quickly this recovered. And obviously, if you look at it, right now, if we look at it right now, how slow these candles are and how quick these candles are. So that would mean there's more, once momentum picks up, it's going to push to the downside quicker. All right. You can see these are very slow, indecisive candles here. So, yeah, that's obviously one thing that I am looking into. Right. I like this new setup. Smaller stop loss really help with new accounts. Appreciate your work, mate. Nope, no problem at all. I'm not obviously saying that I'm gonna continue this because obviously sometimes you need to let it breathe. But obviously I want a nice, I want a controlled day. All right. I want it to be easy. I want it to be nice. Yesterday was like it was like being in a war. It's like this is triggered, bang, bang, draw down, move, move. But yeah. So that's obviously hope that we can yeah, make sure that yeah, a bet like this, gold, want this to pop up nicely, and us be like, you know what, we've hit our morning target. Let's go, let's go. So yeah. Um, so yeah, right. Does anyone have any questions? Here we go. If I miss a trigger when it taps, then moves into some profit, then retracts back to entry, can I take the trade? Yep, you can. That's no problem at all. So, for example, gold this morning, I don't change my outlooks. All right, I'm very, very, very strict on it. All right, I'm not obviously strict on the obviously times that I'm trading, but I will have everything ready for like 6:30 in the morning. That is my outlook. Whether it's right or wrong until one in the after, noon or half past 12, when obviously I'm re-evaluating everything, So if a trade is still running, to me it is still, valid. And I do the same in the afternoons. I probably wouldn't want to be entering a trade after like half past 3. So if it gets to half past 3, I wouldn't enter a trade. I'd rather just watch it. But like I've always mentioned, guys, because we're going with trend and because we're going with overall, macro outlook, I think yesterday's USDJPY stop loss was only our second stop loss this month. We do get direction right 9.5 times out of 10. And obviously, I have lots of not challenges, queries on, risk to reward because I've got a very, very different approach, right? And yeah, we've got a bit of time. I'll go through it now. Right, so if I was to clone this, all right, and I'm going to put it here, right? Let's clone it a few times. Clone, clone, clone. All right, so here we go. Right, this is how I look at risk to reward. All right, everyone else, all right, we'll look at it as say a one to you could have one to four, yeah. All right, 1 to 4 risk to reward. All right, and obviously you could be entering your 4 trades here, thinking, yep, you know what, and there is nothing wrong with this. There's just different scenarios of risk to uh, reward. All right, you might have your 4 trades here, which you might look at as yes, my risk to reward is 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 4. All right, I might enter 4 trades. Say one might get to here, one might get here, one might get here, and then one might be here. This might equal our overall target within a couple of hours. I'm coming out. All right, I'm done, because I don't need to hold all of these. All right. Now, me being in the markets less amount of time increased my uh, risk to reward. All right. And obviously, what I also encourage, if you hit your daily target in the morning, why are you trading in the afternoon? You've achieved what you've wanted to. So then, if you're not trading in the afternoon, and this guy here is doing another 4 trades here, it doesn't matter if it's a 1 to 4. He's got minimum all 4, trades here open and exposed to a risk. Whereas if you've hit your targets here, you don't have that. So that lowers your risk to reward and increases his. All right. You're also, if you're holding to a particular stop loss, or sorry, a TP or stop, yeah. All right. You're exposing because you're trying to guess exactly where the market's going to go. All right. Now it's hard enough to guess the right direction. Sometimes. Whereas your trade might come up here and then do this. All right, this one might come up here and do this. This one might come up here, and potentially do this, but then obviously hit TPP. This one, even if you're, say for example, you're moving stops to break even, you might get something like this. All right. There's all these different scenarios here where you would have got stopped out on these here. You've gone through all of this and you've been stopped out one, so -1, plus four even. You're plus two, all right, and you'd have held for a long time. You're exposing your personality to, well, shall I hold these stops or shall I add in or is it going to turn or what about this one? Should I close early rather than having a goal, right? Having a basket, putting everything together, having a target. Once it's hit, you're out. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. We've done it. Let's move on to the afternoon because everyone wants to paint a pretty picture, in regards to trading. But obviously, your one goal here should be the most uninteresting goal ever. Your goal is to wake up, morning, afternoon, take money out of these markets. That's it. No, nothing else. So yeah, that's how I look at risk to reward. Slightly different. All right. Greg, this is the stupid thing I did day before yesterday. Made my daily target in the morning, then lost it all. And some in the afternoon when GBP and AED went against us. I won't make that mistake again. Yeah, like you said, your only goal, all right. I think people, they fall so in love with the adrenaline, the feeling of being in a trade. They enjoy, marking up the charts. They enjoy finding trades. But obviously you've got to realize your one job is to take money out of these, markets, and that is it. So yeah, I think GBP USD has just triggered. I've just had a notification come up. Just tapped. So yeah, I'm just gonna put that in. Hold on a minute. Uh, GBP USD triggered. Oh, there we go. Triggered. Right. Cool. Right. If there is nothing else, then obviously I'll end this here. Hopefully you guys have obviously enjoyed it. Have a think about it. There's lots of different ways to obviously look at risk to reward. I know the stereotypical way is I've got a 1 to 3, I got a 1 to 4. So if I've got 10 trades, I can lose three, blah, 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 blah. But realistically, it doesn't quite work like that. So yeah. Right. Have a good day, everyone. And yeah, let's smash it. Let's have a nice, smooth day. Have a good one.